All right, let's move on and maybe do part 2 of our conversation here. We've been talking about the 49ers, but I actually want to talk about how you cover this team. And officially, I say your new job. It's not like relatively new, but new this past season. You're working for the San Francisco Standard. I know that's kind of a new operation in terms of them covering sports, but you also do a whole separate thing on social media. I get it. It's connected, but I do feel like it's separate. Just give me the landscape of what your job or jobs actually are.
I do feel like I'm working 2 jobs, but I also feel that they are interconnected, and they actually started interconnected. I have to give a lot of credit to Adam Hansman, who founded The Athletic alongside Alex Mather back in 2016. They hired me in 2017. It was around 2020, 2021 when Adam said on one of these company meetings, all of you writers are using Twitter to promote your articles, but you should be thinking outside the box. You should be thinking about YouTube. You should be thinking about different forms of social media to promote your work. And that turned a light bulb on in my head. This was, I think, before the total brunt of the revolution on YouTube and video hit. And I just turned on my webcam on my laptop. It was before I had this fancier setup. I'm still not at your level, Brody, but this was very, very primitive back in the day. And I started talking about football, and I go back and I look at some of those videos, and the audio is echoey and it's almost cringe. You don't want to go back and look at it, but that's where it started, and you have to start somewhere.
But you've improved. That's the thing. Looking back on all your old work, trust me, I do it too. It's hard because you look at it and you do cringe, but that means you've improved, right? So you want to go back and cringe. You don't want your best work to be behind you to that point.
Exactly. So, and that's been part of the most, satisfying portion of this journey is seeing that improvement, investing in what I've been doing. I've seen the audience grow, and now, run a channel that I think averages more views than anything else covering the 49ers, and writing articles as well. Now for the San Francisco Standard, I only have great things to say about The Athletic, but then this opportunity with the Standard popped up, and it was a chance to really focus back on the local. And I think there's a demand for that now, not just in sports media, but across all of media. But people to regain their trust in a lot of things like this from the local moving on out. And the Standard was so supportive of what I'm doing on the social media side, and that's been really, really gratifying, really exciting for me. And it's allowed me to, I think, blend the 2 jobs together even more cohesively, which from the very start, like I could even go back to my first job coming out of college was for scout.com covering Stanford football. And I remember even then I was trying to do videos and I was trying to embed them into my articles, and nobody was really doing that at the time. And the quality obviously wasn't what it is now, but I think there was, something in me said, hey, if you want to advance in this industry, you don't know if somebody's going to give you a phone call to write for them, or if they're going to give you a phone call to do radio, or if they're going to say, we want you on camera.
Right.
So you better showcase that you can do everything. Yeah. And it's interesting because you have this very big cross section, demographically of people who watch, especially like age wise. And the younger people all want video now, and the older people all want writing. So the fact that I've been doing both writing and video / audio, I think has helped the content appeal to the most 49ers fans possible. And that's sort of where I'm at right now. That's why I'm still trying to make both of these things work together, because I want my content to appeal to the most people possible.
It's the advice I give a lot of people about getting in the industry. And it used to be like when I was getting into all this stuff 25 years ago, you were either a television person or a radio person or a print person or whatever you were specifically. To your point, though, nowadays you have to be everything, because that's going to be demanded of you, but it's also going to put you in the most places to get the most eyeballs and get the most bang for your buck in terms of your work. And speaking of your work, I mean, the volume of content you are creating. I put out a video a day here on this channel. It keeps me plenty busy enough with this and, my day job too. But you're doing like multiple videos and live streams, and every time there's breaking news. Are you ever getting close to burnout on this stuff, or does it just come naturally?
I love what I do.
Easy? Yeah.
I love what I do, and I've made it a mission to try to incorporate it into my daily flow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where a lot, if you watch, I have a lot of food stuff. I have a lot of travel stuff.
I like when you're in the Zook. Is it a Zook car, or what kind of car are you in? A Waymo. That's what
those are the Waymos.
Yeah,
those are the Waymos. I'll have to try the Zooks. I think it's Zooks, right?
Yeah,
I've seen those now on the road. Those are crazy. It's like this little rectangular van that's just transporting people around without a driver.
But you're doing a live stream in a Waymo across San Francisco. You're like, oh, I've got 55 minutes to kill, so I'll just stream in the car while the car's driving.
So that does a couple things, and I think both of them fulfill the mission here. One is I'm trying to maximize efficiency and time, so I'll get back to the city. Past couple seasons, I've lived in the Mission during the season, but I swim in the bay. That's my main athletic thing. So that's up in the Dolphin Club. So that could be a 30-minute ride crossing the city because there's no freeway taking you across the city.
Right.
And if I'm coming up from Santa Clara and I need to get up to Dolphin Club before the sun sets to swim, because swimming in the dark, I'll do it sometimes, but it's a little sketchy.
Yeah.
You're having to use the skyline to get back. And it's like you're flying dark there without any instruments. But anyway, if I want to make it up in time before sunset, I need to get up right away, and I don't want to waste that time driving, and I need to do a video. So, perfect.
Here I am.
Just get into a driverless car, do the live there. And then the second part of the mission has been sports and community need to connect. That's why I try to feature these local sandwich shops. San Francisco's got so much really cool history with dive bars and just with locals and natives who go back to the Kezar and the Candlestick days. So as I drive through the city, I can show off the city a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think the city could use it right now.
Yes, it could.
And so it's one of those things where, hey, we're talking about the 49ers. We're in a driverless car, which is really cool. There's only 2 cities in the world where you can get into those right now as a passenger, Scottsdale and San Francisco. And then I could flip the camera around and oh, hey, there's Coit Tower. Oh, hey, there's Lombard Street. There's Ghirardelli Square. And it's gotten to the point now where like people, some of these shows have so many people watching them that somebody's out in the streets in San Francisco. Like I've had people try to like intercept my car and like give me a high five. They're like, oh yeah, I found him. He's live. There he is. So like a couple times we've literally had a fan, like I'm at a red light, like join the show for 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. No, I think it's great because, typically like here, what I create on this channel, I come in the home studio, like I prepare a video, I bang out a video. I do some other work and some other videos like away from home or on location, but it's rare. I don't know. I just feel more comfortable and productive here. To be honest, I'm trying to get on my channel where you're at in doing these a lot more casual. I don't need all the bells and whistles. It's just, hey, me in real life, here's what I'm doing. So to be honest, I admire how you do that and the way you do it. It's not easy, by the way, to do it in public, in a scene, in a setting that maybe you're doing like a broadcast type presentation and people are like,
if it's live, it's
who's
stressful.
This guy? What's this guy? Yeah.
It can be stressful. You're right.
You're all by yourself. So it's not as easy as it sounds or seems. How's the audience on your channel? I mean, how's the growth of the channel going and growing for you?
It's been meteoric.
Yeah.
It obviously slowed down a little bit this year. It's going to be correlated with how the 49ers are doing.
Of course.
The biggest spikes have been those playoff runs.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest boost I got early on was because I started doing it in 2021. So the 2021 run was a big shot of adrenaline because that was a team that resurrected, right? That was a team that didn't look like it was going anywhere.
Right.
Then they got some elimination game wins. And that's, sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time. So I'm at Jerry World, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, and I'm there before the game, and I'm just walking through the tunnel in the hallway before the game on my way up to the press box. And I think I couldn't find the elevator because the place is so big. I'd never been there before. And all of a sudden, the doors of the 49ers locker room swing open, and out come Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams with a massive boombox.
Over the shoulder.
And this was before like the boombox video was like captured and became a viral thing. So I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I grab my phone and I just walk with them. I'm like literally in the tunnel with them, filming them for a good minute to 2 minutes all the way to the tunnel. I post the video. It has 1 million views now. on YouTube. And then everybody started filming that every game. That was what, so I was just lucky. I wasn't like looking for that. That just happened because I couldn't find the elevator in Dallas. And I think that got the channel going.
Yeah.
Right. Because the algorithm sees, oh, this guy had a viral video. We're going to send everybody typing 49ers into his channel. The very next week, this is one of my favorite stories. 49ers beat the Packers at Lambeau Field. It was the snow game, right? It was negative 10 degrees. I thought I was going to die that night. I was the last person in Lambeau riding because this was Central Time, late game, 2 or 3 a.m. It's well under 0 degrees, but it was such a cool experience because I'm worried about how I'm going to get out to my car without freezing to death. How is this car going to drive? Like, California guy, I could drive in the snow, but negative 10 degrees in the middle of the night is a whole different beast.
Right.
Especially like when you're having to chop the ice off of the headlights because it's just, everything is frozen. Like, it was bad.
No thanks.
But anyway, this was like a movie moment. They just left the stadium lights on full blast. So it's hours after the game ends. There is not a soul in sight in Lambeau Field except for me. And I'm just sitting there looking after I'm done riding at the field covered in snow with the fluorescent lights, stadium lights brightly on, and this whole snow just accumulating. I'm like, whoa, I have to find a way to do a live here from the press box with that in the background. And I didn't have any camera equipment back then. So this was literally me setting up my laptop. And press boxes they're kind of like this staircase up, right?
Yeah.
So I put it up on the row higher than me, and I stood on
down,
the row lower,
shooting down,
and I tilted the screen down.
Yeah.
And I got the shot. It's an awkward angle, but you see everything.
Yeah.
And I just hit go live. And this was probably midnight West Coast time. We had 2,000 people watch the live stream because 49ers fans were so high on adrenaline.
Right.
That they couldn't go to bed. They were trying to consume everything they could.
Right.
I had no notes. I grabbed the game book and I just stood there and I talked for an hour in empty Lambeau Field. To this day, I regret not going out to the field because I could have.
Nobody would have stopped you.
Yeah, but it was also negative 10 degrees, and there's a chance that I wouldn't have been that's where I could have died. So it's a good thing I didn't do that probably, but it's like, damn, that would have been even cooler, right? To go out to the field and do that.
You know how they say your computer might freeze, like software might freeze? No, it would have actually frozen. Your computer would have physically frozen, and then
or my phone, right?
Yeah, if it would have the stream.
So yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah,
I made up for it this past year, but I mean, it was a much smaller deal. It was the game that they got killed in at Lambeau. And I walked out to the field and I did a live after the game from the field. And I said, this is what I wish I would have done in 2021.
It's awesome.
It was only flurrying this time. It wasn't this negative 10 degree blizzard. It was like 25 instead. So it was manageable. But anyway, those two moments got it going. And I think to talk about growth, well, you need those moments. Like, you need to be lucky, right?
Yes.
You make your luck, but you do need the luck. And from there, just the playoff runs, thankfully I was already front and center in the algorithm. And I think it just, it took off from there.
I find it amazing as somebody who came up in old traditional, broadcast media, and now I'm kind of jumping over to this side of it. And there's two things about it. Number one, I was at winter meetings maybe 2 years ago now in Nashville, or was that a year ago, or even in San Diego a couple years ago. But so many people came up and approached me and said, oh, I've been watching all your YouTube videos. And I'm thinking, how about any of the stuff I've been doing, the thousands of TV shows I've been doing? Nobody ever talks about that, but YouTube is so global. It's so accessible. It's so easy for people to find you and maybe bond with you because of just like a connection that the viewer makes with somebody who's on YouTube versus on traditional television. And then the other part of it is, and I promise you, I swear to you, this is not a flex. But I mean, I've got a closet full of Emmys, right, in my office in the other room. And that's cool and that's fine. And I remember how much I wanted to get those in the early 2000s. I wanted to establish myself. I find myself in a similar space now where I want that YouTube play button. I want the 100,000. And it's weird because I know when, and I think it'll happen, and it might happen as soon as this year, but the point is, I know when I get that, I'll also think the same thing about the play button as I do about the Emmys. They're just nice paperweights, but it's kind of weird how like there is an attainable goal here on YouTube. You want to do something and there's some motivation behind it. So I'm sure you probably feel the same way.
Exactly. And to your first point that people didn't really recognize or remember your work with under a bigger entity instead of your YouTube channel. I've noticed that as well. You'll notice that on YouTube, the channels that are branded as like a company channel do much worse, even if it's just one person talking on it, than the channels branded under just a person.
Here's who I am. This is my stuff. Yeah, right. Exactly.
It goes back to the name of the company, YouTube, right? It's about the individual person. The initial goal of the company was, here we have all these corporate entities broadcasting, but this is your chance, YouTube, your TV, your chance to make a channel. And I think that spirit really lives on. Now everybody has the ability to be a TV channel. Like that's the beauty of it all, right? So there still is a lot of value in your own personal brand on YouTube that is just recognized by the culture of those who consume it. And I believe it's the second largest search engine in the world. Behind only Google, and they're owned by Google. So
Same
Google
thing.
obviously made a very good decision to acquire YouTube because that's the way of the future.
How do you feel about those who also cover the 49ers, but any other sport, any other topic really? I mean, I think there's two styles of presentation on social media. And I do think you and I are cut from a similar cloth, and we try and be sensible. We try and be well-educated, well-informed. We try and take some time to put together these thoughts and perspectives. But I also realize that there's a lot of people who do quite well on these platforms by being the loudest voice or having the hottest take. It's an interesting fork in the road. And again, I think you and I have kind of gone one direction, and I'm not disrespecting the either direction, but there's definitely multiple ways to do this.
Yeah, I do think that one of the ways is a get-rich-quick scheme that doesn't have the same type of longevity. I think that ultimately that is something that a rule that basically dominated the industry before, and I think it still does now. I think that you've always been able to go tabloid, quick attention grab headline and
click on
maybe
this.
maybe get more viewers in a shorter time frame, but then your credibility over the longer run is diminished. And I think we've seen that through a lot of YouTube channels, not just in the 49ers space, but in the NFL space. The whole shock jock thing will work for a little bit, but if you want to build that longer term credibility, you do have to bring a measured approach that, again, may not bring you the same shorter term satisfaction, but definitely will bring more sustainable, longer term gain. So even I've noticed that in the comment section, talking to people on the street, people value credibility, people value truth, people value level-headedness, and you just can't, I think the problem is that you get online and you want to see the counter of live views be as high as possible.
Right.
So a lot of people fall into that trap, thinking that making that as high as possible in the short term is going to be the best long-term strategy. And it really isn't, it really isn't. So I think you just have to remind yourself that throughout time, like, this has stayed consistent. People do ultimately trust that credibility that takes a little bit more to build up over the long run.
Two things. I've found it firsthand that you never know how many people are watching you, and also who specifically is watching you, to the point like you think you're just talking into a camera and nobody's really out there. There are consequences of the things you do and say. And the other part about it is, I'm somebody who still likes to show up in a clubhouse, a locker room, a dressing room, and talk to the players and the managers and the front office. And so you have to know that you can't be acting like an idiot on the internet and then think that in real life, they're going to treat you like they never saw that. People are out there seeing your work. You cannot forget that, even though I think sometimes it's an easy thing to forget. I also just kind of wanted to close it out by wondering, you're about to enter like the full brunt of the NFL offseason here. Do you have challenges like staying not up to speed, but making a consistent amount of content? Do you tail it off a lot during the offseason? How do you approach that?
It's never a challenge. The NFL,
it's a machine, I know,
has done an amazing job, and I appreciate the job now because it's obviously very connected to the work that I can put out, but they have monopolized 11 out of 12 months of the calendar year. There's always something coming through. And then that 12th month, I could just pre-produce a bunch of preview stuff for month number 1 once the cycle restarts. So the NFL is a year-round thing. I get asked that question so many times. Like, what do you do when it's the off season? Like, isn't it really empty for you? And it's like, we do bigger numbers around the NFL draft than we do it almost every single part of the season. Now, if the 49ers make the Super Bowl, that's obviously going to be king of all. But the draft, free agency, OTAs, the schedule release is now an event in the NFL. Like, do you realize that we know exactly who the 49ers are going to play next year? We already know all of their opponents. Yet the NFL has still managed to make the schedule release a primetime event that people will watch probably more than they watch the NBA, which is actually playing games at the time.
Yikes.
Even though we know who they're going to play.
It's in what order is it going to be? Right.
Yeah.
When's the bye week?
They managed to commoditize everything about their product, which that answers your question. There's never a boring moment.
So the last thing here is actually me not asking a question. Well, actually, it's me kind of opening the door. Is there anything you wanted to say about YouTube or content creation? Did I miss anything here? I'm enjoying this chat because I admire the work you do. It's similar to what I'm doing here, and I just think we're on interesting paths with this stuff. So,
well, I do have to say, and I hope you get comments about this. I hope that people appreciate how awesome technically, you've built this setup. It's really neat. Like I said, it looks like a complicated airplane cockpit, and I know you have a pilot's background, so maybe that's part of it, but I've taken a lot from you doing this. I know you probably got started a little bit later, but then I turn around and I watch your channel. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get better video. I got to get better sound. I kind of geek out about all this. So I think it's really neat to see someone like you. You have such a great reputation in the Bay Area. You've done so much over the years for the broadcast channels, and now it's pretty neat to see you taking your technical know-how to YouTube. And I think that's important to raise the quality level. Like, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. And it's just really cool to be able to come onto your show and talk in this setting, because you have been an inspiration for me.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect me to open the door to that, but thank you for that. No, and I think pushing each other's great, right? And it's like, maybe I'll see something, like I said, what you're doing more videos in real life, in real spaces and places. And that's something I aim to do. So let's keep pushing each other. And I think the other thing about it is, when I was coming up, you idolized and I know he just passed away, you idolized the Dennis Richmonds of the world. They were the TV people. They were the media, leaders, so to speak. And that has kind of disappeared from our culture, and maybe the new place to lead is here on YouTube. So I'd like to think we're ahead of the curve in all this stuff, and hopefully it continues. David, I really appreciate the chat, and let's talk soon.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brody.